Right guys, so today I'm here at Stoke Newington Church Street in a lovely Japanese restaurant called A-U-N, and I was walking by outside and I felt the need and the urge to come in here and look at the interior design and see if it inspires me, and indeed it does. So with the beautiful sun shining through today, I wanted to talk about a very sensitive subject. A subject that I truly have been scratching my head for the longest time to see what would be the best way to approach it, talk about it. And yes, there are many videos on the internet, YouTube, that have already explored subjects like mental health, anxiety, depression. And I really want to give you guys my take, very raw, very unfiltered, no studio set, just randomly walked into a restaurant on one of my favorite roads and I start talking. So there is normally two ways to look at symptoms such as depression and anxiety. On the one hand, many believe that you either have depression and anxiety or you don't. And it's a common misconception that those that do become depressed and have symptoms of anxiety and depression, it's somehow a permanent trait that you can't, very much like a light switch, it turns on, however you just can't turn it off. Instead, we should think of it more as a scale of where you are and how severe some of the symptoms are. And the way that I translate it in basic terms is, the more severe you are along this scale, the more it begins to affect your life in a big way. Now, the opposite can be true, whereby the further down the scale you are, where the symptoms are somewhat mild or they're beginning to go away, it doesn't really interfere with your life anymore. The big question is, how do we resolve these symptoms? Well, the good news is there are several practical ways, and I'm going to give you 5 of them today. So, 5 quick examples of how you can cope, begin to manage and heal these symptoms of depression and anxiety. The first most common one that I refer to is called aerobic exercise, which involves things like walking, running, hiking, cycling, swimming, any sort of physical activity that increases your heart rate, blood pressure, that is a great way to begin to heal some of your symptoms. And studies have shown that 75% or 3/4 of all documented depression cases can be somewhat cured through movement, exercise. And this is why I begin my second channel called To Challenge. I'll put the link into the description so you can view at your own leisure. Back to the point. The second way would be to look at your diet and your nutrition. Very important, increasingly important that we are beginning to improve what we eat and what we consume, as it can help up to 35% of your hormones, chemical imbalance, digestive system, and good food makes us happy. So it's actually one of the easiest ways to regulate and balance your hormones through a healthier eating choices. Number 3, changing the way you think. Now, this could involve several different approaches. Speaking to a professional, like a therapist, psychiatrist, doctor, all good things. Talking to friends and family, ideally people you trust. Now again, studies have shown that it can help alleviate symptoms of anxiety, depression, up to 80%. Personally, from my own experience, I found that it works even better than any prescribed medication. The 4th way is improving your sleeping habits, such as insomnia, irregular sleeping patterns. Now, take it from me, I've suffered from insomnia for more than half of my life, and when the body doesn't rest, the amount of cortisol that your body produces is imbalanced compared to the rest of your hormones. And cortisol is produced by a vital adrenal gland that creates a steroid hormone known as cortisol. The body naturally produces this hormone to regulate things such as your metabolism, your immune response, and blood pressure, amongst many other things. What I find that worked really well for me is resetting my circadian rhythm. Now what that is, if you don't know, is a normal time when you wake up in the morning and sleep at night. Think of it as your biological clock, where it's determined or dictated by how consistent you are at the time you sleep at night and the time you wake up in the mornings. A great way to reset your circadian rhythm is when you wake up, expose yourself, walk around in direct sunlight, or even sit in direct sunlight, as I'm doing right now, for 15 20, 30 minutes. And that's a really good way. If you can try and make that habitual and do it every morning, great way to just reset that biological clock, hence helping with your sleeping habits. Another great tip that I have for you is something called earthing or grounding, which is where you walk around barefoot, ideally on soil, grass, tarmac, concrete, and just walk around for 10-15 minutes. And that's a great way for you to ground yourself and be aligned with the earth. And that's a great little tip that I've always done, especially when I'm traveling somewhere far and there is that element of jet lag. Great way to cure jet lag. Not completely, but it helps massively. The fifth way that you can begin to help yourself decrease some of these symptoms of anxiety and depression would be to find new or old hobbies that you enjoy. This dramatically helps reduce your stress levels by creating a natural hormone called dopamine. Dopamine essentially fosters the sense of purpose and accomplishment. So when you engage in activities like, I don't know, painting, writing, gardening, completing a puzzle, playing board games, these are great ways at providing, well, a mental break from your everyday life and daily pressures, and at the same time, it helps promote social connections and boosts your self-esteem. So those are my 5 ways in which you can begin to really lower your stress levels, overthinking, symptoms of anxiety and depression. And I've used many of them, if not all of them, in my everyday life, particularly in the last 12 months to 18 months. Now, the reason why I've been procrastinating with making this video about depression is that I have been depressed for the last, give or take, 2 years of my life, which is difficult because when you're drowning in depression or simply just overwhelmed by anxiety, it's very hard to start implementing some of these changes in your life. I've been there. I know what it's like. And I speak to you from experience, personal experience. Now, something to cover is that there is a common mistake, as I've seen. We often try to make huge life changes. I don't know, I'm gonna run a marathon, or something ridiculous like, oh, I'm gonna cycle the length of Britain. The reason we do this is that we have a boost in motivation and willpower. Many people, myself included, we often come full circle and arrive at where we originally started, when we try to do too much too soon. And as I get older and wiser, I'm beginning to understand what real perseverance means. And it's not built on endurance or grit. It's fundamentally rooted in consistent day-to-day commitments to incremental growth. Now, one of my favorite quotes that I've recently learned, and I have it as my own almost mantra, is commitment is the foundation of all great achievements. Let that sink in for a second. Commitment is the foundation of all great achievements. And an excellent example of this is sometimes we tend to eat too much over the festive holidays, Christmas, then look to join a gym in the new year with a elaborate workout routine. Now, I don't know how many of you have tried that, but willpower will only get you so far. The most likely outcome is that you get completely exhausted and eventually give up altogether. Now, the key to unlocking this is actually already inside of you, whether you know it or not. And it sounds obvious when I say this, but you know yourself best. You know what you like, you know what you don't like. Let's face it, if you push yourself to do something that you don't enjoy, then please ask yourself, is this going to help my mental and physical well-being? Or will it make things worse? Because when you give up and get discouraged, you're right back to where you started. And I would also add, you're probably 2 or 3 steps behind where you started because of that demotivation or discouragement. So my practical advice, and to give you guys the most simplest way, is 2 things. Do what you really and truly enjoy. Don't climb a mountain. Instead, walk up a hill. And apply these 2 philosophies to the 5 tips that I've covered. And a couple of references and acknowledgements and disclaimers. I'm not a qualified therapist. I'm not a professional and I don't practice subjects like mental health. I'm purely speaking to you from an individual perspective, through my own lens and experiences. So take everything I say with a pinch of salt. And then, in addition to what we've spoke about today, there are many other alternative ways in which you can recover from anxiety and depression, such as, but not limited to, meditation, yoga, breathing techniques, extended fasting, warm light therapy, increasing your daily step count, being more creative, listening to music, have a change of scenery, identify your triggers, and start talking and opening up to others, like friends and family, professionals, if needed. And some of these topics that I've just mentioned here perhaps require a separate video to take a deeper dive into those subjects. But today is all about making small but significant steps to improving your daily habits and routine by implementing incremental growth and improvements. 1%, 2% each day. That's all we're looking to do. And in the long term, it will really accomplish a long-lasting, healthy lifestyle which you'll enjoy. My name is Tu. Thank you for watching my video.